Hey guys, what's going on? Blaine back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about Spiderhead. Spiderhead is an American science fiction thriller based on a short story by George Saunders and tells the story of Jeff, a prisoner of the Spiderhead Penitentiary, who aims to shorten his criminal sentence in exchange for participating in drug experiments along with his fellow inmates, performed under the watchful eye of Dr. Steve Abnesti. Eventually, Jeff proceeds into an experiment involving a drug capable of generating feelings of love within its recipients. The further he goes into it, the more he starts to question how he feels, leading him to investigate a potential conspiracy behind Dr. Abnesti's true intentions. After seeing how well Top Gun Maverick turned out, I was hoping that director Joseph Kosinski would be able to hit another home run with this, but it ended up falling flat. It still has some enjoyment to be found in its unique premise, though it never goes as far with it as it should. The movie is buoyed a lot by the performances of the lead actors, the first of which is Miles Teller's as Jeff. His character is a bit ordinary in personality, but Miles nails all the right emotional cues and has a good screen presence that helps elevate him from the mediocrity of the screenplay. His background relating to his incarceration at Spiderhead is unfortunately only explored at a basic level. He reels from not being able to see his girlfriend, as well as the death of his friend by a drunk driving accident that Jeff caused, but without knowing more about his relationship with them, it's hard to sympathize with Jeff beyond a generic sense. It's a shame that the movie isn't willing to further explore his psychological torment in this respect, because there is potential for Jeff to be a standout character. He asks the right questions and has doubts about everything around him, which makes him the perfect protagonist to investigate a conspiracy, but the movie never takes full advantage of his potential. Chris Hemsworth's performance as Dr. Abnesti is ultimately what salvages the movie. Even though it is weird to see him in the role of a scientist, he quickly won me over with how charismatic and commanding he was. If it hadn't been for him, the movie would likely have been a total flop. It's interesting to see how obsessed he is in toying with human nature, using all of these different drugs to gauge how people respond to them, and doing it all with a smile on his face. Even though he could stand to be a bit more menacing as the story progresses, Chris is still able to nail the shady overlord persona behind his character. There's always something more to him than meets the eye, which is where his relationship with Jeff comes into play. It's a lot different compared to what might be seen in other prison stories, in that it's a lot more casual and friendly, with Dr. Abnesti going so far as to say that he has an open door policy. This lulls Jeff into a false sense of security that goes for quite a while in the beginning, which on one hand was a good way of showing how deep he was into the effects of the drug trials and how hard he has to work to see past Dr. Abnesti's lies and to figure out what's really going on at Spiderhead. But on the other hand, it takes a long time for this mystery aspect behind Spiderhead to unravel, and somehow it feels rushed when it finally does. Jeff comes to a sudden revelation without any proper build-up behind it, which leaves little suspense on the viewer's part to enjoy, on top of the iffy pacing and predictable plot throwing things off even more. It also doesn't help that a lot of Jeff and Dr. Abnesti's scenes are plagued by lengthy philosophical dialogue. It makes sense for moral dilemmas to be present in this movie considering the subject matter in it, but most of the time their discussions end up going nowhere and dragging scenes out longer than necessary. The drug experiments are the most notable part of the story, and they still end up being a mixed bag. The experiments themselves are intriguing to see, as a variety of them are shown with different effects being displayed, so there definitely wasn't a dull moment when they were being shown. The movie explores a number of ethical issues surrounding these drugs, mostly relating to controlling human behavior and what costs should be paid to creating a future free of crime and suffering. These ideas are interesting to consider, but as with everything else, they're mostly examined at surface level. The lack of consistency with how Dr. Abnesti goes about applying the drugs makes some sense later on as more details are revealed, but it's still frustrating to an extent. Even now, after watching it, I still don't know how they're all supposed to tie into this grand plan in a cohesive way. The main problem with these experiments, though, is that a lot of them are just plain silly in presentation. People will laugh hysterically at bad jokes with them, have passionate sex with them, or become violently afraid of everyday objects with them. The prisoners' reactions are understandable, but the way they're presented makes them feel like they belong in a comedy instead of a psychological thriller. It feels like the movie is constantly at odds with itself over its tone. For a movie that's supposed to be about sick, twisted drug experiments on human beings, it's really weird to hear so much upbeat license music playing in the background, or running gags like a mystery prisoner writing on the wall with their own feces. The comedy is poorly executed and really shouldn't be in a movie like this. Once the movie focuses more on the Spiderhead conspiracy later on, the humor becomes less of an issue. The theme of love becomes a big talking point, with Dr. Abnesti wanting to control it for his own nefarious reasons, as well as him admitting to being in love with his own facility, and seeing how far he was willing to go to strive for his goals in this sense was quite unnerving. For Jeff, however, the love element is incomplete, largely due to Lizzie. She's as generic as a love interest can be, and doesn't really do or say anything to make her stand out apart from a late game plot twist, but Jeff becomes heavily invested in her for no reason other than that they get along well, so their romance feels half-baked from beginning to end. And going back to what I said earlier about Jeff's girlfriend, the audience has nothing to go on as far as making an emotional connection between them. Again, there is a plot twist revealed later on that attempts to help out with this, but by the time it was revealed, I had already stopped caring about her threadbare involvement in the story. Now, to avoid dogpiling on the movie too much, I did like the visual aesthetics it was going for. The modern gray architecture inside Spiderhead creates a feeling of familiarity and uncertainty at the same time, which adds to the atmosphere of both comfort and dread that the prisoners experience. There's also a ton of great cinematography outside of the facility as well. The movie makes good use of wide shots which are characteristic of Kosinski's style, showing the vast emptiness of where Spiderhead is located, which further enhances the isolation that the characters experience. I'll also say that the final scene where the characters make their escape from Spiderhead was pretty entertaining. It's odd to see Dr. Amnesty not taking advantage of all of his resources to stop them, but there is still some tension in the moment that is enjoyable while it lasts. Overall, Spiderhead is a disappointingly average sci-fi flick that shows some promise at first, but its cracks start to show soon after. If you like science fiction, you're looking for a modern-day adaptation of a classic story, and you don't mind it falling short in execution, you might enjoy this to some degree. I wanted to like this movie a lot more than I did, but I couldn't help feeling let down by it. It still manages to be somewhat thought-provoking with its themes and characters, but it does the bare minimum in doing so, and with so many other quality sci-fis out there, it won't be long before this one is forgotten. What did you think about this movie? Did the main characters help make the story more enjoyable for you, or did you also think it could have been better than it turned out to be? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways guys, that's going to wrap up my review of Spiderhead. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you enjoyed it, and as always stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the British sex comedy drama Good Luck to You, Leo Grande. Bye bye!